see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body.
No one inside the paddock expected the silence to break like this. And when it did, it wasn't from a Yamaha manager or a project leader or even a factory rider. It came from Andrea Dovizioso, a man known for cautious words, precise analysis, and almost zero exaggeration suddenly delivered a statement that sent a tremor through MotoGP. He spoke about a rider many believed would struggle. He spoke about a prototype powerplant Yamaha had been hiding in the shadows. And he hinted that everything, the season, the project, even Yamaha's identity, might be about to change. But what Dovizioso didn't say openly, what he only hinted at between the lines, is what truly shocked the paddock. Because his comment wasn't just praise. It was a warning. A warning that Yamaha may have discovered something dangerous, or unleashed a gamble that could break them completely. And the rider at the center of it, a man whose name had already become a whisper among engineers. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu. The story didn't begin in Valencia or Aragon or even inside Yamaha's garage. It began years earlier during a slow, painful decline. Behind the calm exterior of the MotoGP paddock, Yamaha had been losing ground. Ducati's explosive V4 dominance was reshaping the sport. KTM and Aprilia followed, mastering torque, acceleration, and aerodynamics with unrelenting pace. Yamaha, proud and traditional, clung to its beloved inline-4 philosophy. The same DNA that once delivered titles now left them outpowered on every straight. Whispers grew louder. Some insiders claimed the project was stuck. Others believed the engineers were divided, those wanting evolution and those demanding revolution. And in the middle of that internal tug-of-war came a small, secret decision. Yamaha would build a V4. Not just as an experiment. Not just as a prototype. As the bike that could redefine their future. But a machine this radical needed a rider who could unlock it. Someone fearless. Someone aggressive. Someone who could adapt faster than the engineers could tune the electronics. That rider wasn't in MotoGP yet. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu was not the kind of rider Yamaha traditionally chose for sensitive development work. He was explosive, unpredictable, a breaker of limits rather than a follower of rules. In World SBK, he built a reputation around superhuman braking. Rear wheel floating, body hanging off the bike like he was defying physics itself. Fans loved him. Engineers feared him. Team bosses respected him but wondered, could someone this wild help shape a MotoGP prototype? Dovizioso had his doubts too. But the moment Toprak swung a leg over the Yamaha V4 in Aragon, those doubts began to crumble. Inside the garage, technicians whispered, give him time, maybe a week, 2 weeks. He needs to unlearn the inline-4 logic. Except he didn't need a week. He needed a few laps. By the end of the first session, he was already probing the braking stability. By the second, he was testing the limits of Michelin's sensitive front tire. By the third, he requested a different engine brake map. One normally reserved for veteran MotoGP riders. And that was only the beginnings. But what the paddock discovered next shocked everyone. Aragon was only the first sign. When the team moved to Valencia, the real transformation began. Toprak didn't just ride the bike, he forced it to reveal everything it was hiding. The V4's new electronics package, still raw and inconsistent, resisted him. But he kept pushing. Hard braking, quick direction changes, controlled sliding no one expected on a brand new prototype. Telemetry stunned the engineers. Some said the data looked like it came from a rider with years of MotoGP experience. Others believed he was pushing the bike beyond what the chassis was designed to handle. The most surprising part, he wasn't fighting the bike. He was dancing with it. Dovizioso later admitted privately that he had never seen someone adapt to a new power unit so fast. The V4 engine brake characteristics, normally a nightmare for rookies, were absorbed by Toprak as if he had been using them for years. But beneath the excitement, another layer of tension surfaced. Because while Toprak was showing potential, the bike itself began to reveal its weaknesses. And those weaknesses were far more serious than anyone expected. Inside Yamaha's garage, the atmosphere shifted. Engineers who had once celebrated were now scrutinizing screens with growing frustration. The acceleration out of corners remained inconsistent. Wheel lift at high gears became a recurring issue. The electronics struggled to translate Toprak's aggressive throttle inputs into traction. Some mechanics quietly mentioned that the engine temperature spiked during long runs. Others claimed that the gearbox still lacked the smoothness needed for MotoGP's intense downshifting. Then came the aero debates. Yamaha brought two experimental aerodynamic packages to Valencia. One focused on extra downforce for braking. Another aimed to stabilize acceleration. Toprak preferred the one with extreme downforce, naturally. But the aero chief disagreed. A rift began to form. Some insiders suggested Yamaha was unsure who to trust: their new aggressive test rider or the old engineering philosophy. And while the garage tried to hide it, tension was building fast. Yet the real turning point happened away from the cameras. During a private long-run simulation in Valencia, kept secret from the media, everything changed. Yamaha wanted to test durability, heat management, and race distance performance. But midway through the simulation, telemetry flagged erratic engine behavior. The torque delivery fluctuated. The rear wheel lost grip on corner exit. Toprak felt a strange wobble entering turn 1. He pulled in. The garage went silent. Engineers swarmed the bike. Laptop screens glowed. Voices lowered. Some believed it was an electronics calibration failure. Others suspected an internal engine vibration pattern they hadn't identified before. The simulation was halted. For the first time since joining the project, Toprak looked genuinely frustrated. Not angry, just disappointed. He wasn't upset about the performance. He was upset because he finally saw how far the bike still had to go. Inside Yamaha's garage, doubts spread. Had they pushed too fast? Was the V4 project unstable at its core? Should they revert to safer development steps? The strain inside the team reached its peak. However, the twist that followed would change the entire storyline. That night, Yamaha's engineers stayed until dawn. Telemetry from Toprak's aborted long run was reviewed frame by frame. And then, between the inconsistencies and the instability, they found something unexpected. A pattern. Toprak had pushed the bike harder in the first 12 laps than any previous rider had in over 40. He had accessed grip zones in fast corners the V4 wasn't even tuned for yet. He had braked later than the software predicted was possible. And the bike held. The instability wasn't a flaw. It was a symptom of potential the bike wasn't calibrated to handle yet. Dovizioso saw the data and understood instantly. Toprak wasn't exposing weaknesses. He was uncovering limits Yamaha didn't know existed. The next morning, Dovizioso stepped out of the garage and gave the statement that sent shockwaves through MotoGP. If Yamaha can follow the development direction Toprak wants, they will have a very dangerous package next year. The paddock exploded. Reporters speculated. Rival teams eyed Yamaha with new caution. Fans wondered if the Blue Factory had found their missing weapon. But what happened after that left even Yamaha's inner circle stunned. Yamaha remained in Valencia longer than anyone else. They tested revised combustion settings, updated gearbox ratios, refined electronics maps built around Toprak's feedback. Telemetry improved. Corner exit traction became smoother. Fast corner stability climbed. Toprak's confidence grew. He began shaping the V4's riding character with every lap. Not adapting to the bike, but forcing the bike to adapt to him. Inside the paddock, some mechanics whispered that Yamaha had finally rediscovered its ambition. Others believed the pressure now resting on Toprak's shoulders was enormous. If the V4 succeeded, he would be remembered as the man who changed Yamaha forever. If it failed, the project could become the biggest setback the factory had faced in a decade. And that's where the story ends for now. Because the truth is simple. The V4 isn't finished. Toprak isn't finished. And Yamaha's gamble is only just beginning. Next season will reveal whether this journey becomes a historic comeback, or the boldest risk Yamaha has ever taken. But one thing is certain. Every lap Toprak completes brings Yamaha closer to a future no one thought they would dare to chase. A future powered by a V4 engine. And a rider determined to rewrite the limits of what's possible.